All right, let's talk about something anyone who's ever thought about buying a property off plan knows all too well. It's that feeling, right? That mix of pure excitement and, well, that little nod of anxiety in your stomach. Today, we're diving into how Abu Dhabi decided to tackle that anxiety head-on, building a real estate market based on trust. And we're going to see it all through the eyes of an investor named Salem, based on a really insightful article by Dr. Sami al-Tolki.
So, picture this. There's Salem, our investor, standing on a balcony, looking out at the incredible Abu Dhabi skyline. He's just put his life savings into his dream apartment, but instead of just feeling joy, his mind is racing. What if the project stalls? What if it all just disappears? These aren't just his questions. They're the questions every single off-plan buyer asks. It's the fear of the unknown.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. Salem's friend, Salma, who happens to be a lawyer, comes to see him, and she sees the worry on his face. Instead of just saying, "Don't worry," she gives him a whole new perspective. She tells him, "Salem, you're not just in any city. You're in what's essentially a living legislative laboratory. A place that has literally engineered a system to take that fear you're feeling and replace it with solid legal confidence."
And what she means by that is that Abu Dhabi's big real estate law number 3 of 2015, isn't just, a rule book. She calls it an entire architecture of trust. Think about that. The whole point isn't to come in and punish people after something goes wrong. No, the goal is to build the marketplace in such a way that those problems are far less likely to happen in the first place. So this gets to the very heart of the idea. It's a complete shift in how the government sees its role. It's moving from being a reactive regulator to a proactive designer. So how do you go about designing a market for trust? Well, let's take a look. And Sami uses this brilliant analogy to explain it to Salem. Think about it. In the old model, the government is like a delayed policeman. They only show up after the damage is done, right? But in this new model, the government is a proactive engineer. They're there from the very beginning, designing the whole system, the rules, who gets to play, everything, to prevent things from breaking down.
So what's the first step in engineering a market like this? Well, you have to define who's allowed on the construction site, so to speak. Salma explains that the law is incredibly specific about this. Every single player, developers, brokers, valuers, you name it, has to be officially licensed. It's about getting rid of those murky gray areas where things can go wrong. If you don't have a license, you're not in the game. Simple as that.
Okay, so Salem's starting to get it, but he's a practical guy. He cuts right to the chase with the million-dollar question. He asks Salma, "Look, this all sounds great, but what happens when things actually go wrong? What happens at the real breaking point, when a project is actually delayed?" He wants to know what the system really does in a crisis.
And this, Salma tells him, is where you really see the brilliance of the system. Instead of leaving everyone to fend for themselves in some chaotic, messy legal fight, the law lays out a clear, predictable path. It's a mandatory journey from a problem to a solution. A roadmap, really. So let's walk through what this roadmap looks like. It's a 4-step process. So say a buyer misses a payment. The developer can't just tear up the contract. Step 1, they have to give a formal 60-day warning. Step 2, after just 15 days, they are required to notify the regulator. This is huge. It brings in a neutral third party right away. Step 3, the regulator forces a settlement meeting. And only if all of that fails can they move to terminate. It's a controlled process, not a sudden shock.
And it's not just one law holding all this up. Salma points out that this local law is backed up by federal consumer protection laws. So you've got layers of protection. For instance, payment schedules have to be tied to actual visible construction milestones. Basically, you pay as they build. Plus, there are super strict rules against any kind of misleading advertising. What you see is what you should get.
So naturally, Salem asks the question that's probably on your mind too. Okay, Salma, this all sounds good on paper, but does it really work in the real world? Do these laws actually have teeth? It's a classic question, right? And it's a totally fair one. Luckily, Salma has a very concrete answer for him.
And this is the moment Salma says, okay, let's stop talking theory and look at reality. She shows him that this isn't just about promises written in a law book. There are actual real-world court cases that prove the system works exactly as it's designed to. She brings up a real case, so here Hussein versus Macesup Limited. The dispute was pretty standard. The developer was late on delivery, and there were construction problems. But look at the verdict. The court didn't just say the buyer is right. No, they ordered the developer to pay financial compensation for the rent the buyer lost out on, and they ordered the developer to fix every single defect. That's tangible. And Salma really drives this point home to Salem. A verdict like this isn't just about one person getting justice. It's a signal. It sends a ripple through the entire market. It's a clear message to every single developer out there. Contracts matter, and if you don't honor them, it will cost you real money. That right there is how you build real accountability.
At this point, Salem is pretty much sold, but he has one last question, and it's maybe the most important one of all. Okay, he says, I get the process. I see the courts work. But my money, where does my actual money go? What's the lockbox? What physically stops a developer from just using my funds for something else if they get into trouble?
And that's when Salma reveals the keystone of this whole architecture of trust, the final critical piece of the puzzle that holds it all together. It's the ultimate safety net, the project guarantee account, or as most of us know it, an escrow account.
You know, the idea is so simple but so powerful. Salma explains that every single project, by law, has to have its own special bank account. It's totally separate, totally ring-fenced. Your payments go into that account, and that's the only place they go. And here's the kicker. The developer can't just take that money out for anything. It can only be used for construction costs on your project. The money is literally locked to the building itself.
And with that final answer, you can just imagine the relief on Salem's face. He started this conversation on a balcony filled with anxiety, and now he's looking at the same view, but with confidence. His personal journey really mirrors what happened to the market. He realizes he's not just some buyer out there on his own. He's part of a secure system that was designed to protect him.
And this really gets to the core message of Dr. Al-Toki's article, which is just so powerful. It's this idea that true sustainability, it doesn't come from steel and glass. It starts with the sustainability of trust. That's the real foundation. A market that's going to last isn't built on concrete. It's built on the confidence of the people investing in it.
So, that leaves us with one big question to think about. We've seen how this legislative laboratory in Abu Dhabi has successfully engineered a system of trust. It's proactive, it's transparent, it has real legal teeth. So the question is, could this experiment, this blueprint for building confidence, become the new gold standard for real estate markets everywhere? What do you think?